NPS Now, your source for news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner, and with me today is Dr. Dennis Moore, Senior Coordinator for Student Support Services, and with him today is Amy Griffin, School Nurse at Mary Calcott Elementary School. Welcome to you both to NPS Now.
Thank you for having us.
I'm glad to have you here, and I don't think I've ever had a nurse on the show before, so let's get started and let everybody know what our nurses do here at Norfolk Public Schools. So Dennis, what is our nursing program here in Norfolk Public Schools? What do they do?
We have a total of 49 nurses that we have transitioned from public health over the past couple of years. That's been a 3-year transition, and those are nurses that work in. The goal is to have one in each and every building, and we're currently addressing to making sure that we have one hired for each one. But they do a lot of different things, clinical services, immunizations, basic healthcare for the students and staff in the building. Not healthcare, but wellness kind of issues, addressing healthy eating habits and those kinds of things.
So how has it changed since what it was before into what it is now?
In the past, the school nursing program fell under public health. A couple of years ago, they decided that us being one of the few schools in the district, in the state that had that kind of model, they wanted to switch it over to where the nurses fell under Norfolk Public Schools. And so that started a transition process where we met in committees to plan out what we were going to do. And then what we did is we transitioned slowly. We started off with like 10 public health nurses coming over, and then another 10. And then finally the balance of them came under our supervision. Now we still partner with public health on certain issues, but as of the beginning of this academic year, they are fully under Norfolk Public Schools. We're responsible for all aspects of the school nursing program.
So before, they were paid through public health, but now they're part of Norfolk Public Schools' budget. Okay, starting this year.
Part of our budget and our supervision, yeah.
And so, being a school nurse, what does that entail?
It's a lot. Some of us have anywhere from 200 students to 2,000 students a day. So it can vary a lot. We do a lot of medication administration. We do a lot of health assessments. We're responsible for vision and hearing screenings that are mandated by the state for certain grade levels, all pre-K, kindergarten, 3rd grade, 7th grade, and 10th grade, and then any student that is new to Norfolk Public Schools. So we can screen a whole lot of children every year. We do health maintenance to make sure that they're up on their immunizations, that their physicals are current. We do a lot of referrals to primary cares or to specialists when we find health needs. We're nurses, so we only assess, we don't diagnose.
Right.
So we can suspect that there might be an issue and refer them to their primary care doctor for further treatment. But there's a lot of health maintenance that goes on and a lot of health education.
So how long have you been a school nurse?
For 19 years.
19 years. And where have you been in the 19 years?
I started at Crossroads, was my first school. I was there about 1.5 years, and then I moved over to Mary Calcott, and I've been there ever since.
What is a typical day like for you?
It can be busy. It can be interesting. Usually it's kind of routine for the most part. You know that you're going to have your children that are kind of come in with their illnesses, their bumps, their bruises, their complaints. You're going to have your medications, you're going to have your screenings, but you can have emergencies at the drop of a hat, broken bones.
Wow.
We also have lots of critical care children that we take care of in our schools, and a lot more now than we used to have. We have sicker children that have to attend school, and we need to take care of them and make sure that they're well and that the other children around them are well too. We have children that are immune suppressed that need special care so that they don't get any sicker, and closer eyes on them every day. We have lots of diabetic children that can change at the drop of a hat. They can be good 1 minute and bad the next, and we've got to help figure out what's going on with them and fix their blood levels. We have lots of children that need tube feedings and catheters during school hours, so we can stay really, really busy. And of course, we take care of the teachers when they come in too. So
You gotta
they
do
come to
that.
visit us during the day too.
So why do you think it's important to have these full-time school nurses? I mean, she's mentioned a whole lot just now.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, they really cover a lot of ground with regard to the health and well-being of students and staff in school. It's better. We think it's better to be proactive in terms of addressing the medical needs of children and staff members, and having a nurse in each building helps us to do that.
And what do you think is your busiest times of the year that you see children coming to the clinic?
Oh, definitely the beginning of the year. From probably September to the middle of November is really the busiest. We're getting them all situated in school. We're working on screenings. We're working on reviewing all of the health records of all of the new students, making sure they're compliant with their immunization requirements or physical requirements for entry. If they're not, or if they're behind, we are working on a schedule to get them up to par. So the beginning of the school year is definitely the busiest, and the end of the school year.
Getting
We have to write care plans for each of them so that the teachers know if we see our chronic child in our classroom having an issue, this is what we do with them. And the end of the year, getting them all ready to move to the next year, to the next building.
Because I was just sitting here thinking of the seasons. You know, you had the winter, you know, with the colds and the flu, and then when spring breaks, the allergies and things of that nature.
And thank goodness when it is flu season and when it is allergy season, all of our screenings and all of our care plans and the beginning of the year stuff has dwindled, so we can concentrate on flu and allergies. So our focus does shift during the school year.
So what do you think is, or you would consider to be your most important part of your job?
I think health maintenance and health education, teaching these children how to better take care of themselves and how they can help us to take care of them. The good hand washing, the frequent nose blowing when they are sick, and the good hygiene afterwards is a big step. Eating well, sleeping well. They don't think that, especially high schoolers, don't think they need to sleep. So making sure that they get enough to eat and drink, and good healthy things. Instead of nice sugary drinks, that water is really, really important. So a lot of health education and health maintenance is probably the most important thing we need to do.
And it's important to have you there to stress that. So how many full-time nurses do we actually have in the schools?
We were slotted for 49. That was what the budget. That was trying to get a nurse in each and every building. We have been actively working to fill every spot, and just recently I think we have finished filling that final spot. So 49 is the number that we've been working with.
Before, did we have nurses being shared at certain schools?
Yes, when we were under public health, years and years ago, I think it was a nurse in every building. Then it sort of drifted and shifted into they shared a little bit. And as the transition was going through, we were still in that sort of mode where we were sharing a little bit. But the powers that be at Norfolk Public Schools decided that it was important to have a nurse in every building. And so that's what we've been working to do, is to do that. And we've been hiring since, because it came in stages. We did a little bit of hiring the first year, a little bit of hiring last year, and we're right now in the final stretch. We should be fully staffed.
And from everything that she's just described, it's important to have at least one nurse in each school.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, just to keep an eye on things. The office staff in buildings that don't have critical care, sometimes they would have, in the past, an office staff member doing non-critical care tasks, and they got a job to do too, so we really don't want to burden them with these additional duties. So having a nurse in every building is a way to help everybody.
And all the nurses have the same qualifications, so you match. It's no particular reason you would match a particular nurse to a particular school.
Well, we have a certain minimum qualifications. We would like to see some hospital experience. Really is one of the things we look for. And then when we're looking to match, I mean, if a certain person likes, we'll ask, what do you like? Do you like elementary, middle, high? Because different people like working with different populations. if somebody has a really strong set of clinical skills, worked in a hospital for a long, long time, that might be a better match for some of the schools. Some of the schools have significant critical care needs, and so sometimes that's a good way to match as well. But I mean, the thing that we ask when we interview is we want to make sure that you enjoy being around children and you enjoy serving children in schools. Because it's a different job than in a hospital.
Right. So, Amy, this last question is for you. What do you like most about being a nurse? I mean, how is it different from being a nurse in a doctor's office as opposed to being a nurse in a school?
I love being around the kids, and you get to be around them more being in the school. In the doctor's office, they're in and out. You see them once every 6 months, 2 years, however often. But you get to see these kids grow, and you get to see them learn and apply what you've taught them. Being that health education is important, you can see that you've made a difference, and that you're important. You're an important person for them in the schools.
Great, and that is an important role for our schools. And thank you both for coming on the show to talk about our school nurses.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we want you to stay tuned for more NPS Now.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I'm Steve Sutmiller, Senior Coordinator of Athletics. Today, we have a Hall of Fame guest here, Mr. Bruce Smith, alumni of Booker T. Washington High School. Welcome.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Bruce, we appreciate you being down here, taking some time out to come down and talk to us. Let's talk about your Norfolk Public School history, where you went to elementary school, middle school, and then obviously we know where you went to high school.
Well, it's extensive and very memorable. Obviously, without some of those experiences, I wouldn't be the person or be in the position that I am in today. But born and raised in Ghent, at that point in time, all the homes were old and dilapidated, and the city came in and condemned all of the homes and bought the citizens out, and they were able to relocate. So we moved to Poplar Halls. At that point in time, they were still busing. So we were bused out of the neighborhood that we lived in, and we were bused to Chesterfield Heights to go to school, middle school there. About a year or two after they stopped the busing issue, I was able to attend Poplar Halls Elementary.
Okay.
From Poplar Halls Elementary, I went to Lake Taylor Junior High.
Which is now a middle school.
Which is now middle school.
Okay.
And from Lake Taylor Junior High, I went to, obviously, Booker T. Washington High School.
Well, at the junior high level, or back then, they didn't have a full sports program. So talk about how you got involved in athletics, not only football, but basketball, whatever else you played.
Well, I really didn't formally start playing organized sports other than Little League, basketball, and baseball. I didn't play, obviously, at Lake Taylor Junior High football until my 10th grade, when I was a sophomore at Booker T. Washington High School. And the only reason that I started playing is because that's what all of my friends were doing, and they encouraged me to come out, and the coaches and my friends would get together and kind of put a little pressure on me to, hey man, come on out here and join the team and play and so forth and so on. And I went out one day to practice, and I gave it a shot, and second day I quit.
Okay.
I just felt it wasn't for me.
Now, when you were in high school, I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's all right.
Did you stick out? Were you a big? I mean, you're a big
Oh,
guy.
I was a big guy.
Were
Yeah,
you big then?
I was a big guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why they. Okay.
Yeah. And the sport chooses you. You typically don't choose the sport. And I was a fairly big guy, and I could run pretty fast. And the coaches saw that, and they knew it because I was already playing basketball by then. And I can remember Cal and Zeke Avery, my coaches at Booker T. Washington High School. They said, well, you can't play one without the other. So they put a little pressure on him, and he
Smart
really
guys.
he really didn't mean that. But they just saw some advantages to me being able to play both sports, and seems like it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you played high school football, and then you went on to Virginia Tech to play. You won numerous awards. The Outland Trophy, I believe, you won that, and that's the best defensive lineman in the country.
No, it's the best lineman.
Best lineman.
Period.
Oh, offensive. Okay.
Offense and defense.
I just learned something.
Yeah,
I thought it
yeah.
was just defense.
No, that's yeah.
All right. And then you went on to be the #1 pick in the NFL to the Buffalo Bills.
Correct.
All right. So talk about some of how your experiences at college and then helped you into the professional level.
Well, let me backtrack here just for 1 second, because had it not been for people seeing more in me, obviously my parents, Coach Cal Davidson, Coach Zeke Avery, and many others, people seeing more in me than I saw in myself. They saw this before I could ever think about it, what I could potentially become, or my future, or what have you. And had it not been for that foresight, I probably would have just played one sport, or maybe not even played a sport at all.
And I think I mentioned to you before we started the interview that I've heard you speak a few times, and you always tell a story about you quit.
I quit.
And you mentioned.
I sure did.
So I'm sure Cal Davidson and Zeke did a lot of things to come back, to bring you back. So
Well,
talk about that a little bit.
It was relatively simple. It was one of the hottest days at practice. It was in the middle of summer. It was about 95 degrees and high humidity. And we called it a field, but it wasn't quite a field at that point in time, because it was broken glass. It was half grass and half dirt and so forth and so on. And I just said, I can't do this. It's too tough. And I can remember not showing up for practice the next day, and I heard the phone ring, and my father had just gotten home from work, and he was just, one of those jobs in construction and driving a truck. And it was Cal that was calling to find out if something was wrong with me, Coach Davidson. And I could hear him talking to my father, having this conversation, and after a few minutes, they hung the phone up, and my father came into the room and asked me, he said, "Son," he said, "is there something wrong with you?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, why weren't you at practice?" I said, "Dad, it's just too tough. I can't do it." I said, and I explained to him all the reasons, which were nothing but excuses. And in life, you can't make excuses. My father told me, he said, "Son, whenever you start something, you finish it. Don't ever quit. If you can't handle the little issues that you're dealing with right now, you're going to have a very difficult time in life." And next day, I showed back up at practice with a newfound spirit, because I started thinking, and things started resonating within my mind. You know, both my mother and father hated what they did for a living, but they made the sacrifices. It hurt them. They lost sleep. They did all the little things and the big things, and made the sacrifices to provide for myself and my brother and my sister. And you know, I had this wonderful opportunity in front of me, and I was just getting ready to walk away from it. And so having said that, I went back out the next day, and pretty much, as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had a lot of influence, and it starts at the family.
Correct.
Your mom and dad seemed to influence you to the right way, and we're very happy about that. And then obviously your coaches. So when you get a chance to go out and talk to kids, to talk to student athletes, what's the message that you try to give them to take?
The message that I try and give them is pretty much the same message that my parents instilled in me. If you need to see a role model, you need not look any further than that person that's in your household, your mother or your father, or someone that is that figure that has the responsibility of taking care of you, that guardian. You don't need to look outside or anywhere else. It's nice to see these athletes that you see once a week or occasionally on TV. But that shouldn't be your role model. Your role model should be someone that has influence on you on a day-to-day basis that can help shape you and mold you into becoming a productive citizen within the community. Some of the other things I would tell them is always believe in yourself. When everybody says you can't, you always believe in yourself and say that I can. That's a powerful message that you need to have instilled in you and resonate within you on a day-to-day basis. And lastly, I think it's important. It's tremendously important that these kids need to understand they need to start preparing themselves for success right now. It starts in elementary school. It starts in junior high school, middle school. It starts in high school. That's when you're building that foundation to prepare yourself for success.
Okay. So, I've again had the pleasure of seeing you come back to Booker T a number of times. And, one great message that I see is that you show that coming back is important. So tell us why, Booker T is such, is the place for you. And I know you're a graduate.
I'm glad you brought that up. See, I didn't want to be an athlete that once I reached a certain level, I left and went to greener pastures. I went to move to another state or another city, and I'm not visible within my community, using my influence to help improve the community, to the communities, or to help our youth and be a positive influence or have a positive impact on them. I want it to be visible so these teenagers and young kids can see, touch, feel me, have a conversation with me, understand that there are life lessons that need to be learned. There are a lot of things that you can learn in a success story as well as a failure. You need to take those things and you need to take those moments and allow them to resonate within you and have conversations with people that have walked in your shoes. See, when I go back to Booker T, that's my message. I've overcame these struggles, these challenges that being in the inner city presents far too often. So I'm able to relate and hopefully give some positive and encouraging words and some inspiring words to say, look, if I can do it, so can you.
And I think that's critical that they hear that.
Yeah.
And we hope you touch everybody, but we know some are going to listen and some aren't. But your message is on point. And as a school system and as a community, you're right. Coming back and staying in this community
Correct.
is very rewarding for both.
Right.
I mean, it's
That's
a two-way
correct.
street. So again, you do a great job at that.
Thank you.
So change it up here a little bit. Talk about some of your accomplishments at the NFL level. And I know you've been in 4 Super Bowls. That's a unique feat itself. And you're in the Hall of Fame. But what would you rather have? What's the biggest thing in the NFL that you've done in your career?
Well, the pinnacle of a professional athlete as a team is to win a championship. The pinnacle of a player is to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. You see, when you win a championship, you're a champion for that 1 year. When you become or you're inducted into the Hall of Fame, you're immortalized as being the greatest that's ever played. So there's a difference, and I'll give you some statistics. Out of the 95-plus year history of the National Football League, 95-plus years, less than 1% are inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There are only 166 living members in the 95-plus history of the National Football League that are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's a pretty exclusive group.
I'm going to ask you this question. I think I know the answer. Would you trade all that in for one of those Super Bowl rings?
You know, I had the experience, but I wouldn't trade anything for being in the Hall of Fame.
That's the answer I thought you'd say.
That's in a class all by itself. All by itself.
And I know when our student athletes, i.e. Lake Taylor High School has won a couple state championships. Right now that's what they wouldn't trade. But as they move on in life, moving out and giving back is going to be the thing that they're going to remember most.
And another way of putting it, there are thousands of players that have been fortunate enough to win a championship. There's only 295 in 95 plus years that's got a Hall of Fame ring.
That's congratulations on that. That's big time right there. So, all right, out of everything that you've done on the field, off the field, what's your biggest accomplishment?
I think right now my biggest accomplishment is the transition from being a professional athlete to being a businessman, and the relationships that I've built and I've established, and my impact on the community that I came from, and what I'm trying to do and continue to do within our communities. Those are my biggest accomplishments.
Okay. Well, Bruce, we appreciate you coming down here. I mean, a lot of good information. We hope some student athlete sees this and knows that giving back is probably the greatest thing that you can do. So we really appreciate everything that you do for Norfolk Public Schools, Booker T. Washington High School, and then everything else that you touch.
Well, thanks so much, Steve.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure and an honor.
All right. More NPS Now after this.
Thank you for watching NPS Now. It airs weekly on WNPS Channel 47, or you can view us online at www.npsk12.com. If you have any great story ideas or information that you'd like to share, email us at nps_news@npsk12.com. Again, we want to thank you for watching NPS Now.